Welcome to another episode of Just More Fix. This is James. With me in this episode is Lacey.
Hey.
You can find us online at justmorefix.com or on Twitter at justmorefix. If you like us, you can support us at Patreon, and you can just rating a review at iTunes or wherever you find us at. In this episode, we're going to sit down with James Edward Raggi IV at GenCon 52. And now, it's time to get our gaming fix. About to listen to our interview with James Edward Raggi IV from Lamentations of the Flame Princess that we recorded at GenCon 52. You may notice some background noise and audio glitches because we recorded this one at GenCon. There's also some mature content and language in this one, so you've been warned. And without any further ado, here is James Edward Raggi IV. We are here at GenCon 52 at the tail end of things, so if we sound a little doggish or tired, it's because this has been a long con and it's been fun, but yeah, it's tiring. So how was GenCon 52 for you and for Lamentations? And
it was very good. We were up significantly in sales from last year, which I had no idea what to expect when I came in. So everything's looking good right now. I'm actually amazed. It's
right on. So is that you've been up in terms of, like, I know because you had trouble getting books shipped and it seemed like there were several hiccups and everything to sort of struggle through and fight through. And do you just feel like, you know, in a way you overcame more this Gen Con than the previous ones maybe?
Yeah, well, there was not knowing whether people were going to be throwing bottles at me when I showed up. I mean, walking around town before the convention started and during setup, I'm like looking over my shoulder. It's like, are they coming for me? Are they coming for me? And then the issue with one of the shipments not coming through, and someone volunteered to drive up to Michigan to a warehouse, pick 20 boxes of books out of a 6-pallet shipment and bring them back the same night. And it's just like, wow. It's like, and that amazes me because I don't know that I'd ever do that for someone. So it amazes me to know that people like what I do enough to do those things for me. And it blows me away because I'm not that good of a person, honestly. So thank you. Yeah, thank you once again. I don't know if she wants her name broadcast, but thank you.
Right on. Well, we appreciate it. I know there's lots and lots of people here at the con that came by the booth that also appreciated it very much, because I saw on Facebook and on Twitter and I was like, oh man, you know, because I had been holding off because of the finished post costs had changed. Yeah. So I was kind of like waiting until Gen Con to sort of gather everything up at once. And so whoever you are, thank you very much. I appreciate it a lot, and our gaming table does as well.
Maybe not a bad sales tactic, because I'm pretty sure both us and our friends that were here with us went to the booth the first time, spent more money than was probably okay, and then came back and was like, oh, well, since I'm getting these other things that came today, I guess I also need this thing I was thinking about after I left. So
yeah, I think it helped spread the sales out, because last year all of our, like, the vast majority of the sales happened on Thursday, and then Friday was much slower, and then Saturday was slower. But this year I had a good Thursday, and then a good Friday, and then good Saturday and Sunday. But yeah, it made it more interesting all weekend.
Right on. So you did Gen Con exclusives this year, so is that going to be a consistent thing that you try to do? Or
I don't know, because of course everyone not coming to Gen Con really doesn't like it.
Yeah.
But especially this year with the things with the finished postal costs in my, as of January 1st, my direct sales orders went down because of the way the finished postal service raised the cost. So this year it was especially important to extract as much money from the people that were here as possible.
Filthy capitalists.
Well, last weekend I was at RopaCon in the big Finnish convention, and that's like an all-volunteer convention. And when I first showed up on the scene, everyone was all about, oh, it's art, it's freely, it's not a commercial thing. And I was like, look, you're selling things. Sell it.
Right. Yeah.
Don't pretend you're... And I've noticed, and here's where I'm going to get to people hating me who liked me before, I've noticed that the quality, like the physical quality of the publications since I started doing my things, are raising, and they're not... Yeah, they're in full color, and they're doing marketing schemes. Miska did the whole thing where he had people dressed up in his... space soldier outfits marching through a couple of years ago. So they're doing the sales tactics and things. And maybe I just wasn't paying attention to what I'm doing before, but I like to look at that and think, oh, yeah, I contribute something.
Well, when we sat down with Jacob Hurst yesterday, we talked about production quality and quality of physical artifact books, because PDFs are nice to have, but to have nice quality books and the artwork that really leaps off the page, it comes off the page in a way that it doesn't come off of a screen in the same way. So it's just nice to see production values across the board start to come up, and, that seep into all the other places that have some more uninspired art, I guess.
Yeah, I do what I can. I mean, the GenCon exclusives are saddle stitch booklets.
Right.
If I'm doing it next year, I think maybe I'll have one book that's fancy instead of 4 not so fancy books. But again, who knows what's going to happen over the next year. But that's the idea. Maybe have it 1 book instead of 4 and concentrate on the production values there. But
the chat books and the zine style booklets are fun though, because they kind of harken back, to an earlier time in role playing and Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. So they sort of have like a certain kind of nostalgia to them that's nice to have,
And it's also the fact that I don't want to be the kind of person who's only releasing books that people with a lot of money can buy. Those are the money makers. If you release a book that costs $60. That's going to, if you sell a couple thousand copies of that, you're rolling in the dough a lot more than if you sell 2,000 copies of a book that costs $10.
Right.
So, of course, I want to make fancier books because that makes the business go, that makes my life more comfortable. And so these books that don't cost as much, I don't end up with piles of money in my pocket, but just the idea that, I finished even a smaller project. It's a sense of accomplishment, because sometimes it seems like it's so difficult to get anything done. So even getting the small thing done, and the idea it's a lot less expensive than the more polished hardcover, fancy, let me touch that book.
Right.
It's a variety. There's something for everyone. There's something for people that have a lot of money and want to spend on the quality stuff. And there's people that don't have a lot of money that are spending on I don't want to say not quality stuff, but the not as fancy productions.
Or even if they just want to dip their toes in the water and see if this is the right game for them.
Yeah.
It's an easy way for them to do that as well.
Yeah.
So along with that, talking about projects getting done and stuff, a lot has happened, and Lamentations has grown a lot over the past couple of years.
Yes.
So in a way, when I first started paying attention and sort of, I was the person dipping my toe into Lamentations water to see if it was for me. The amount that you produce and the sort of scope of what it all is has changed a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And like, I remember at one point it was sort of like, you were very definitely slotted into that sort of like indie, small publisher, right? And now it's like, no one is Hasbro, right? They're on sort of like a tier of their own, right? But like, you sort of transitioned into this sort of like different tier of things where you're not like in that indie vein anymore, it feels like.
Yeah.
So has there been like some growing pains in terms of like how that has gone for you and like production wise and all that stuff?
Not because of that. It seems that part has always been the same. It's always like pulling teeth to get people to finish their bits. It's always been pulling teeth for me to finish my bits. And that hasn't changed. Even when it's a small project, it's less teeth to pull, but it's still, why isn't anybody finishing anything? And then once it's finished, it's like, okay, now there are printing problems.
Right.
And then, why isn't the shipping getting where it's supposed to be? And then, what do you mean the retail sales statements aren't starting until the next month? It's already been 2 months since you received the shipment. And it's always more of that, just constantly. It's just the stakes are bigger. It's further to fall.
Right. Well, it's good to see, because there's a lot of project management, basically, and it's,
Which is my absolute weakest point in this business, the whole project management thing. Honestly, that's the ideas. If I can do the ideas, I can think of what a project should be and what it should look like and what it should feel like, but actually managing all the bits to get it on some sort of reasonable schedule. I'm horrible with that because, well, a lot of what I do and with authors is based on royalties. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is I feel if I push too hard because they haven't been paid anything, they should just put their hands up and say, well, forget it then.
Right.
And then, I've been waiting on a year on a project I'm really excited on. And then sometimes there are artists where I have the idea of what I want the thing to look like, and I've got the people in place. And if they're not producing, it's like, okay, but they say, oh, just give me a little more time, just give me a little more time. Right. And I feel if I just give them that little more time, this can still be my conception of the thing, mm-hmm. and no one will care if it's a little bit late. Mm-hmm. But if it never gets done, but then it feels like I'm ruining the project. Even if you get another talented person that's just as good, it's not the same.
Right.
And it's not your project that you've had in your head all this time that you've... Yeah.
Blood, sweat, and tears and time and effort, and then it morphs into something else almost. Right on.
And that's not even counting economics or anything. That's just purely the creative end and the thing you want to hold in your hand at the end. Yeah.
So outside of the just general growth of things and sort of like the moving out of the indie publisher kind of category more into like a much bigger, having a bigger voice in the role playing sort of arena or whatever, it's been a big year of controversy, and I'm not sure how to.
How do you mean?
Well, with everything from loads of awards during the Ennies and loads of success and, books sold and
very controversial things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, no. But that success leading into the controversy that happened with Zach and sort of people piling onto you because you were the publisher, and sort of like in a way you became the person that they could point at because regardless of who wrote or drew or did whatever, you were the person that put that out there on the market. And so it seems like to me that from where we were sitting, that a lot of fingers got pointed directly at you because you were the person that gave someone the ability to produce things, if that makes sense, or publish them, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
In the mystery book that you released this at this GenCon,
here we go.
We read that, and I also read the part that you put up when the middle of everything was happening, and then you finally released your statement because legal and I get all that.
Okay.
So I guess
I hate the word "finally" released your statement because I don't feel like less than a week is a big ask for somebody who is involved in a financial way with someone.
Yeah,
that was one of the most upsetting things to me is how why haven't you said anything yet? Well, it's complicated.
Yeah. Well, and then like I said, it kind of ties back to where I mentioned how things had grown for you and things had changed. So it's into a point where it's not just one person as an individual. Now it's a larger entity, and with that come all kinds of complications. So finally is definitely the wrong word to use because I thought, man, just let a dude breathe for a minute and give him a chance to figure it out.
Do you want a rushed statement or do you want a well thought out response?
Well, all that did is, that rush. That you must say something now, and it must be the correct thing, or your entire life is going to end. It makes me... my instinct is when someone tells me you have to do it is to say, no, I really don't. Mm-hmm. But I had the complication that I was getting a business loan that was approved that same week that stuff was happening. Mm-hmm. And that was... all sorts of... Yeah, it's... Okay, my thoughts are very complicated, and if we're talking just that first week, the pressure was incredible, and it's not just the pressure where someone's waiting on the statement. It's constant abuse, and that's the only way to put it, where the fact that I was... for not saying anything, that I was aiding and abetting not Zach as a person, not Zach as an artist, but aiding and abetting the crimes, and I was as bad as him, and I might as well have also done all of the things that he's been accused of. It's like, that's what they were throwing down. You're just as bad as him, and it's... I mean, the person I'd working with me doing the social media, she was hospitalized, just complete freak out breakdown of all that, and I don't know how to put this to where I'm not exaggerating, but I basically mentally shut down as far as being able to be productive for, I'd say, a good 2 months or so, because I've since cut off any and all reading or contact with the role-playing community, because what do I have to gain except hearing what a piece of crap I am? And anything that I say, any other public statement, someone's always mentioning it, even if it has nothing to do with it. And even if it has something only tangentially to do with it, people are wanting to hammer me. And it's just... I forget, are we allowed to swear in this podcast?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I was eating shit for 6 months.
Right.
Just eating it, and I was just taking it. And I just, at one point, things were just so low, and I just decided I can't live like this. I can think of, Lamentations as a brand has always been rebellious, but it's like me as a person, I can't do this if I have to just hide and be afraid.
Right.
So I had to take a stand and realize, okay, there are certain things I believe and certain values I hold that are very different than the values and beliefs of others in the community.
Right.
I don't know what the percentage is, whether I'm going against a majority in the industry and the role-playing audience, or just a very loud minority who also happens to have sympathizers in very high places in the industry. But it doesn't matter. I have to be me, because if I cannot be me here doing this, when can I ever be? So even if it sunk the company, even if it still can sink the company, I have to stand up and say, this is what I believe and this is how I'm going to behave. And you all just have to deal with it.
Right.
Especially now, since I've done 3 conventions since the whole thing's come out. One convention in GothCon, that was in April. That did basically the same as the year before. UK Games Expo was way up. GenCon is way up. My PDF sales have dipped a little bit, but my retail sales have kept extremely steady. And again, my direct sales, they took a big dip as of January 1st before any of this happened. So, but when the Zach thing happened, and when I announced that I wasn't going to continue publishing him, there was actually a big sales spike because people wanted to get his stuff because, oh my God, is it going to go out of print? And so I don't know what to think, because I know there is this sentiment out there, and I know I can't make all of my decisions based on what the economics are.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, there's so much hate and fury, but the balance sheet hasn't shown any indication of that. It's very confusing. I don't know what to think. I don't know what you were talking about from the essay I wrote in the GenCon exclusive book. That was expecting me to be shouting at an entirely hostile world. That's where that comes from, that I was in a very defensive position, and I was not just turtling up, but just standing back up. And I keep thinking of Warhammer in these situations, like Sigmar stood against the forces of chaos, and they broke. And because I think of and it's like, so because there's so many difficult things, the things that I actually believe, and I don't mean to be inflammatory, and I'm always inflammatory in ways I don't expect to be, and then the things that I expect to piss people off, people go, it's Jim. Like the perfect example, and I know we're weaving in and out, so keep me back on topic after I say a thing. Like this year, for my catalog, I had a thing that was kids on pikes. I had commissioned that last year, late last year, to be a promo. I didn't know what it was going to be used for, but it's basically making fun of the whole Stranger Things and it and all the, hangers-on fad things. Oh, kids on bikes, it's the 80s, and it's... So I had a thing where one of my characters had basically done the whole Vlad the Impaler thing. A bunch of kids on spikes, one cannibal holocausted straight up the Jack D, and one's still alive trying to struggle, and then bikes just strewn about on the bottom, and they've all had their eyeballs plucked out, and so they're in a goblet, and she's eating them like olives. And to me, that was just we have an unknown person here laughing their ass off at that description, but they. To me, that was just poking fun at the popular thing.
Right.
And so when it was time for GenCon, I didn't have the cash to splash out for the big full-size thing, which is why this year it's an A5 booklet instead of a big A4 flyer.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I had this art already laying around, so I'll just use that for the catalog. So I had no idea. No clue until the Ennies results are coming in that there was even an RPG called Kids on Bikes.
Oh, no. Are you
let
serious?
alone that they were up for awards and were 2 rows down. So so everyone at the booth was saying, we're doing the popular thing, Kids on Pikes or Kids on Spikes.
Right.
I had no idea. No clue. I was just making fun of the popular thing in the media, but no one's ever going to believe that. And I've seen online, people are pissed that I did that, thinking I'm directly taking shots at someone in the industry or something. Someone's saying, "Oh, it's illegal to be passing that out," and it's like, "Wait, what? Wait, what?" Just finding ways to hate me because of that, and it's like,
it's a joke. Calm down.
Yeah. It's not only a joke, but it's in character. It's like, okay, this is someone saying, well, that's why I never buy anything from Lamentations. Well, good, because it's representative of the kind of sense of humor we have and the kind of stuff we present in the book. So if you look at that and it turns you off, good, we both win. But there are other people that look at that and laugh and come up to the booth and see what else we have to offer, because there is that sixth sense of humor, that Return of the Living Dead, send more cops kind of dark, black, murderous humor that people like, and I like it, and that's what I do. So I find the people that like it, and the people that don't like it know to stay away. That's what marketing is supposed to do, isn't it? So I'm worried about all these other things, and that's the thing that's pissing people off that I've heard about so far.
For the moment.
I can't win. There's no point in me trying to please people, because even when I'm trying to be just innocuous, people still lose their freaking minds.
Right. So I get, I didn't even realize it was Kids on Pikes at first. I was just I don't know, I was sort of in the moment thinking about something else and what we had to do, and I was like, it's amazing that I missed that in the same way that you missed that Kids on Bikes is an actual RPG. It's like happy little accidents.
I mean, I knew Tales from the Loop was out there, but I didn't know that anyone did something as freaking
3 or 4 other ones after that.
And I'm going to be generic, but I know other people like this, and I'm sorry. You all get to say you hate what I do, so I can say the idea of a generic Kids on Bikes RPG sounds to me like something a large corporation would shovel out to take advantage of a trend. So the idea that someone actually, that's somebody's baby, it's like, I hope it's successful for you. I really hope you get what you want out of it and you find fans and you're happy with it. I don't get it.
So what you're saying is that those kids on bicycles on their artwork is what pushes you away, in the same way that the kids on pikes push other people away from your booth, is what I'm hearing.
I'm a child of the
Marketing
80s.
Works.
I'm a child of the 80s. I watched E.T. I watched Goonies. Kids and bikes wasn't a thing that people were intentionally doing. It's just what kids did.
We did, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But it seems like now it's just no, the kids are going to be on bikes because that's the thing, and that's how we show that's the genre of what we're doing,
So not buying the Trapper Keeper game either.
Yeah, we saw that. Did you see that when it was there? I walked past and thought, what is happening? It comes in like a miniature Trapper Keeper, and I was just thought, honestly, I think I'm at that stage of my life now officially where you look at things and go, what is happening?
I will be honest, the only booth I visited this year is the Game Science, just so I can buy some new crazy kind of die that I can't read. It looks like a D30 or a D24 that has one of those where it's one die that's all types of dice at once, and I look at it and it's got like 4 or 5 different symbols on every face depending on what die I'm going to have to read the instruction book. No, it comes with a little instruction fold-out to read this die. I got no idea, but I'm a dice nerd. I buy all sorts of weird dice.
So we're expecting a chart that uses only that die in the upcoming Lamentations book?
Probably, but that's the only booth I visited, because I realized even visiting friends or, people that I thought of as friendly in the industry, that I'm worried if I show up and there's other people around, how are they going to react to me? I didn't know, because as I've been fond of saying, sometimes the problem has been in the house. And there's been people I've worked with that want nothing to do with me now. There are people that I talk to privately that don't tell me they have disagreements. They act like and say they understand my concerns, but when I say that same stuff I'm saying to them privately, when I say it publicly, they're like, "Oh, fuck that guy." And so I visited no booths during the time of GenCon. I just went, did my job, bought something from the Colonel. And that's been my GenCon, just doing my stuff and working.
So are you have you become sort of persona non grata for that kind of stuff?
Well, I don't know.
How does that...
I don't know, because the negative stuff has affected me so much. It makes me hesitant to reach out to people that I haven't heard from yet. There are projects that I have not even asked for an update for 6 months now, because, and I have to do it now. If I'm standing up, I got to take that hit and find out who's abandoned me next because of something someone else did. No, I can't say that, and I don't believe that. It's what someone else allegedly did.
Right.
I need to preface that, and not only because the lawyer says I need to say something, but what someone else allegedly did, because we're going to get in the weeds on that. I guess this is a good enough time as any if I have to stop myself there. There are two things going on here. Two things going on. One that's new, one that's as old as society itself. Number one, what do you do when someone is accused of something bad, awful, even illegal, outside of the legal framework?
Right.
What do you do with that? We seem to be in this tailspin of pointing, bad person, mob, bad person, mob. Wait, maybe, no, that's a bad person. We mob you too now. And that happens.
Right.
And it pisses me off when someone says to me, "Oh, I guess you're the real victim here." It's like, look at what's happened. When someone goes to the hospital, when I've mentally shut down, I mean, that's not as bad as what other people have been said to go through, but if someone else's suffering is a 3 or is a 10, and my suffering is a 3, that 3 is still suffering.
Right.
And this isn't a race, And just because someone else may have acted badly and I may be connected to that person, there is no justification then to act badly towards me. These were not reasonable. I mean, there were some people that disagreed with me that actually talked to me, and I appreciate that. I can handle disagreement and realize that we're not going to think the same way. It's just the screaming. Like one person I'd been friendly with screaming at me publicly on Facebook, "You knew what Zach was when you started working with him. That's why you started working with him. You're just like him." And it's like, where is that coming from?
I think that might be something that bears mentioning, because in the mystery book, or what is that actually called? Is it just
Zach has nothing to do with this book?
So I didn't know if that was like a creative title for it, or if it was actually
That's the title, and let me explain that title.
Okay.
One of the things after I made my announcement I was no longer going to be working with Zach, there was some internet rando that on Twitter that said, "Oh, I bet he's going to keep working with him just under a different name," and tagged me in to make sure I saw that. And I'll go ahead. They did this publicly, so I'll go ahead. Hans Cummings from the Emmy Awards. He liked the post. So there was something about that. I don't know if he believed it or just, I don't know, but I saw that and it's like, oh, I'm not getting any Emmys nominations this year. And I didn't. Whether that's a coincidence or not is up for you to decide, but there's no reason for me to keep quiet about that garbage. What are they going to do? Not nominate me again? Yeah, but if that's the level of discourse and people having conversations about me, not trying to talk to me or communicate with me, but having conversations about me and make sure they tag me in to make sure they know how much I'm a piece of shit. Okay. That's the way we're going to play it, then I can, then there are ways that I can get under your skin too. So you think I'm going to publish Zach under a fake name? Well, fine. I'm going to publish a thing called Zach has nothing to do with this book. And the back cover, the blurb is just he really doesn't.
Right.
Because I know immediately, even at GenCon here, nobody came and said anything nasty to me. Nobody. Of all the crap I've gotten online from people that I know have been in the same building, in the same room, no one came and said shit to me in person.
Right.
But there was one person that looked at the book, turned it over, and was like, I don't believe it, and walked away. Which is fine. There's no reason for them to have any sort of belief, and they weren't being nasty to a human being saying that.
Right.
So I have no problem with that. But I knew that people were not going to believe it. They were going to think that this... The funny thing is, I didn't even tell Zach I was doing it.
Right.
He didn't find out about it until someone was communicating about it online, and I don't know if they tagged him or if someone else retweeted it, but that's how he found out, and I can't wait for that email. I wonder how that's going to be worded. It's like, James, can you please explain this? Or if it's going to be, what the fuck is... I have no idea, because the only communication I've had with him for many months now is when it was time for the quarterly royalty statement, and we did our usual, here's the statement, is this okay? Okay, I'm transferring the money. But yeah, people going to talk shit like that. I can talk shit right back and poke at them. And one thing I've been doing lately, I don't know if you've seen my YouTube videos. We've started a YouTube channel. I did a thing on the floor of Ropacon before the con started, where I whipped a copy of Red and Pleasant Land, where I took off my belt and I was just whipping it. Bad book. Bad, bad, bad. Why don't you burn yourself? That's what should happen with bad books. A bad person put words into you, and then other people are going to open you up, and the bad words are going to go into them and corrupt them. Because it's ridiculous. It's like people actually expected me to basically burn my books. And I'm sorry. I'm not sorry for whoever this pisses off. Vornheim, Frostbitten and Mutilated, Red and Pleasant Land. I remain proud of those books, and I'm proud of my collaboration with Zach on them. They have nothing to do with whatever things he has or hasn't done in his private life. Those books have nothing to do with it. Those are good books that people have for years bought by the thousands, given fan awards. Those are the same books. Nothing changed in those books based on whatever revelations came to... And I refuse to act like I'm not proud of those books. And so as I'm bringing them to the conventions and people keep buying them out, they say, oh, shame about Zach. I'll take one. So I get right on social media. Guess what we sold out of? At Ropacon, we sold out of Red and Pleasant Land. We had a little label for the space, empty space. I take a picture. We are dismayed to announce that the degenerate Finns have, bought this evil satanic book, and I'm just poking because fuck you people. Now I'm not taking this shit anymore. The books are good, and there is nothing. The moral weight of a book or the moral status of a book is based on the content of the book.
Well, the other piece of it is it's not just one person that puts effort into that book.
Yeah.
So there's layout artists or layout people and artists and editors and printers and there's a lot of fingers in the pie to produce all that. So while regardless of what your opinion is of one person who's involved, it's sort of like it's already been produced and published. So that ship has sailed. So then it becomes an issue of like, do you punish everyone else that has anything to do with anything? I mean, like, I don't know, and to be honest, I've read everything you've written in the back of the Zach has nothing to do with this, and I'm following you on social media and stuff. And
have you seen the Facebook post where I also decided, because my decision and how I talk about this has had to evolve, because it was about 6 weeks ago that I wrote the essay that's in the back of Zach has nothing to do with this book. And I realized that this isn't a Zach issue. I plan on being around a lot longer. I plan on working with a lot more people. And eventually someone else is not going to be the public favorite. Right. And the example I give, someday someone I work with is going to get behind the wheel of a car when they shouldn't, and it's going to have tragic results, and I got to deal with that. Somebody is going to be maybe a little too candid about their real views on Facebook, and it'll be really unfashionable, and action must be taken. And I have a duty of care to the people I publish. I don't care I don't care if somebody ends up being Ted Bundy. You can be, even evil people can do good things. Nobody is one thing. Charles Manson made music.
Right.
Adolf Hitler was a painter. Wouldn't it have been nice for the world if he had been allowed to just pursue painting?
Right.
Okay, maybe that's an extreme example to
no, but there's a stand-up comic that does a thing where they say, "Wouldn't it be great if we could go back and kill Hitler?" And then he puts a picture of baby Hitler up and says, and so I think it's an interesting moral argument about how do you rationalize this and where's the line. And to be honest, I'm of two minds about it. I am sympathetic to pieces of both sides of the argument, and I don't even really know 100% where I fit into the entire thing, because I think any moment you have a thing where it's like, I agree 100% with everything you say, you're probably a crazy person if you agree with, or in a cult, So I really feel like in a lot of ways there's this drive that we want, or not we, a lot of people want to see immediate reaction and immediate results for whatever transgression has happened. Yeah. And I guess my biggest gripe with it was that you took the brunt of a lot of it, you and the people around you involved with Lamentations. And it was like this crossfire moment that just didn't seem to be warranted. It just, if you want to be angry, that's fine, but direct your anger in the right.
The anger happened for a couple reasons. And the anger happened, I did the thing that people wanted me to do. I said I wasn't going to associate with Zach anymore. And that cost me, not future earnings, that cost me a lot of money right off the bat, because there was a book very nearly ready for print. Mm-hmm. So after the success of Vornheim, he wanted advances to do more work. So there were 2 books out there that I'd paid, multi-thousand euro advances for. There was one book, a lot of production work had already been done for. So that was about 6,000 euros just wasted for me to make that decision to try to at least keep the company going and have everything not collapse. But there were 2 things, they can make me do that. There are things I guess I have to do to participate in the space. But 2 things really, one thing really bothered me. When Mandy said her piece, and obviously she's suffering in some way, in some great way, and I don't know, I can't say she's lying. I can't say she's telling the truth. I wasn't there. I don't know. Here's how connected I was to their relationship. I think that they both agree, so I can say that they broke up at the beginning of 2017. I didn't even know that they'd broken up until it was November or December of last year, 2018. That means I hung out with Zach at GenCon for 2 GenCons. In 17 and 18, without knowing they were broken up, because I don't ask about the personal lives of the people I work with. So I didn't even know they were broken up even after hanging around, because it's like, I hate to put it this way, but his personal life didn't interest me, especially his personal life is kind of odd, and I don't want to get him going on it.
I think that's one of the things where what came out of that book that I was going to mention earlier is that I think there's a perception, and myself included in that initially that maybe the relationship between you two, and maybe why you took a lot of hits online, is because I think there's a perception that your relationship with him wasn't just professional, it was more of a personal relationship as well.
Well, it wasn't like a cold business relationship.
Right, no,
On the projects, I think we worked pretty close.
But you're also half a world away.
Half a world away. But the things that I think really infuriated people are the people that, when Mandy was with Zach, the people hated Mandy. They would make fun of Mandy. They would take shots at Mandy. But now that she's done this, we support you. We're, the same people that. And one of them, I wish I'd screenshotted it. I forget who it is, but I saw this. One of these fucking bastards told Mandy, "I forgive you." And I was like, I am having no common cause with these pieces of shit. So that's why in my statement I talk about the snakes that are happy at the idea that Zach has hurt someone, because that gives them their excuse. We can now get him. Oh, thank goodness Zach hurt somebody. We can get him now. And it's like, no, I'm not standing with these people. I'm going to take this opportunity when everyone's looking at me to tell them to fuck off. And of course, that gets them looking at me because I've put myself in the crossfire that way. And the other thing I did, again, being proud of the work I've done with them and not at all being happy that these projects that I was very excited about and wanted to show the world were now canceled, I thanked him for the work that we had done together. And I was crushed that we couldn't continue. And that is absolutely true. And for all the personal things that Zach is, through professional means, through the success of especially Red and Pleasant Land, through him giving me his platform from I Hit It With My Axe when he let me release Bornheim, he did so much for my life in making my life better. The very least I could do is not shit on him like everyone else was doing. And no matter what he did, and this is what I was talking about where I have this duty of care, that if the whole world is hating someone, but they've done something with me that I've considered good, I'm not going to, kick them in the teeth when everyone else is already stomping on them. My spaces can be the space when we can talk about things that they've done that are good, and there's the entire rest of the world and rest of the internet that you can talk about what a monster he is. Here, we're not going to do that because I worked with him. We did a good thing. Check your shit at the door when you're coming here because we're about the creativity, not these other things. And people hate me for it. And that's fine. I've taken the shot and I'm standing back up and saying, this is what I believe. This is going to happen again in some way, and I am not doing this dance. I hope people really, enjoy their victory here because if this happens again, I'm handling it differently. I'm not going to cave to the mob so easily in deciding what I'm going to release in the future because I'm not going to keep acting like I'm part of something wrong if something happens somebody does something that has nothing to do with the work. And I'm wondering, and other publishers, seem to get nervous when I bring this up. If there was some sort of creative union for role-playing creators, same way that like athletes have their union, that when something happens, someone is representing them. And if there was, so I could say as a publisher, well, the union's saying I got to keep the book in print if I'm able to. That would be wonderful for me. Not that we can have any confidence that the union would stand behind, but just some sort of, it's not just the mob. It's not just someone decides, get 'em. And it's just hell on whoever's in the way. Because no matter... And I know, I linked off my personal Facebook account an Atlantic article recently about the failure of law enforcement to process rape kits in the hundreds of thousands. The legal system is very deeply flawed and needs to be fixed in a lot of ways. But the ideals of what the legal system are supposed to represent are wonderful. The presumption of innocence, the actual due process, but due process has to go both ways. You actually have to investigate and process the freaking evidence. Those are wonderful things to protect against this mob rule. That's what the legal system was for and why it's better. So it's not like, lynch 'em, which is basically what a digital mob is. And people can say, they're not really stringing them up and killing them, but you're killing them socially. You're saying you're not allowed to have a job. You're not allowed to participate publicly in anything. It is a virtual death in every way, and that anyone that dares associate with them in any way, shape, or form is immediately suspect. They're in league with them, and they're by association at least sort of guilty of the same crime. Get them too. That's no good. That cannot stand, and I understand other people that talk to me. There are people that have said that they're not allowed, that they can't work with me anymore. There's other people that don't want to use their real name. They want to use pseudonyms, and it's like, fine. But I keep talking to people, even people who are deeply progressive, that care about these issues, that talk to me, that say that they're bothered by a lot of things, but they can't stand up and say so because they'll get eaten alive. Yeah, because they've gotten a taste or they've been close and they've been able to back off. And it's like, okay, someone has to stand up. And again, me doing something that was forced and me saying it was forced makes me a target again. But I can tell you, if I hadn't been a success, if I didn't have employees, if this had happened when I was just some jerk-off still doing books out of the corner of my ex's living room, and this had come down on me, I would have looked at, my heroes in media, like Cannibal Corpse was banned in Germany for a while, and they kept going. They would go to Germany and play the songs anyway, just not announce them, because the cops that were in the crowd had the names of the songs, but didn't know the material. And so they, did this middle finger of censoring, because I'm publishing nonsense books. There is nothing, definitely in Zach's case, nothing of what I do relates to what he's accused of having done. I mean, he doesn't even deal with that stuff in his fiction. And to me, the standard is who is harmed. If Zach publishes another book, who is harmed by that? Who is kept safe from him not being allowed to sit alone? Writing is a solitary thing.
Let me play devil's advocate for a minute.
Yes, please do, because I'm ranting and rambling.
No, you're good. You're good.
Please,
but I think it's one of these things where there are lots of creative people throughout history that were verified terrible people.
Yes.
Okay. So if I go and I buy a Picasso or a Van Gogh or whatever it is, right? There's no financial benefit to those people because they're dead and gone. It doesn't matter, right? But like you said in your example, like the work stands on its own, but there's no financial benefit to those people, right? And so to just play devil's advocate, what do you like? Where do you come down, or what's the argument when you say this book gets produced by whoever it is? Like you said, because whether it's Zach in this moment or someone else in the future, right? Something is going to go wrong. So like at a more like a conceptual level. What do you, how do you frame the argument around the fact that if I am going to buy these products and someone that you have produced does verifiably does something terrible, no questions about it. So do you keep producing that knowing that you're financially supporting that person and maybe potentially their habits and the suffering that they are causing on other people?
Okay.
So like, how do you rectify those two things?
Okay. That would be fair if what he's accused of have been doing.
I'm not talking about specific. Okay. I'm talking like more at a higher level.
No, but it is important specifically.
Okay.
Because what Zach is accused of doing has nothing to do with any financial concerns. Whether he's rich or whether he's poor, it's not that publishing role-playing games gives him greater access to do what he's accused of having been done. And he has to do something, especially since no one's calling the cops, nobody's taking him away to jail. He has to live somehow.
Right.
He has to make money somehow. And this thing that he's been the stuff he works with me, again, it has nothing to do with what he's accused of. So if he's able to make some money towards rent doing this, if he can't do this, what is he allowed to do? Why is he allowed to do that and not this? And if you're going to harass him and any of his employers, I mean, is it really, what is the end game? Do you really expect him to, live in an alley and die in a ditch? Is that realistically what you're out of? And I can't help but be snarky, but people, it's like they're doing it out of kindness and concern, being as cruel as they can and wanting to ruin someone forever to where they can't make a living. So they're either going to go on the dole and living off of all of us anyway. Who benefits? Why is that kind? Who actually benefits from that happening? And is there any concern given? And of course there's no concern given, but shouldn't some concern be given by the fact that he's proven to have done decent work, people get value from that work, and you're robbing anyone that's actually still interested in that work from ever getting any more? That should at least be taken into account when you're deciding how you're going to punish someone for things that are never going to reach a court of law. You have to consider all of these things before you can consider yourself to be forwarding the cause of justice, which is just a common refrain.
I agree. In this case, it's a little bit different of a thing because there's no, like you said before, there's only two people that really know what happened in that specific situation. But I'm saying, in a larger situation, in a different sort of fictitious situation where someone that has done work for you, right? And they go do something terrible, and it's very like we know for sure they did, perfect world, whatever. So how do you sort of balance that? And I understand the argument where you're like they have to do something. So what? Or they have to not exist anymore, right? So I'm sympathetic to that argument. I'm curious, like as a publisher, now it's not them doing something and getting paid for it. It also involves you because you're giving them that voice. So like in a way, not necessarily you personally, but you as like Lamentations as a company, right? And that producer. So it's sort of not that you're complicit in it, but you're giving voice and the ability to them to be able to say and make money and make a living and do things and get larger access. So I guess where does that factor into that? In a perfect world where we know 100% that someone has done something, right? Yeah. I guess I'm just asking, like, because in the back of that book, in the back of the thing, I understand where you're coming from, and it's not a perfect world, and it's complicated, and that's why I think it's a very nuanced discussion, and that's why when I first saw that, I thought there are a lot of people who are not going to see this, and they're going to crucify you for something that they never read, never see your actual position, right? And
well, you're never going to reach those people anyway.
Oh yeah, and I agree with that. But I feel like with this, there are a fair amount of people who are in the middle who will hear you and hear your words and your arguments. And if they decide that they don't agree with you, then fine, so be it. But at least you know why. Yeah. You know why you feel the way you do. And if you disagree, then so be it. And if you don't, well, then maybe your mind changes or maybe you come around to the argument. Mm-hmm. But there has to be some kind of, I don't know, middle ground is the right word, but like way to clarify things and broadcast things to people, because all they see is this just disaster of Facebook and Twitter. And it's infuriating because whether or not you like the work or don't like the work, like it's just a disaster and it's a terrible way to communicate. And I realize we've gone way far away from what I was talking about before, but like,
these are important issues because every creator, even if they never make well, you see, I don't want to say making a mistake, because if Zach did what he's accused of doing, and maybe he did, I'm not saying he's innocent, but I can't say he did it either. I don't know. I wasn't there. I have no idea. So it's up in the air, so I have to. Everything I say and everything I do, there's a possibility that I have penalized an innocent man who is just the victim of an ex-girlfriend who is very much hurting, and maybe it was a bad breakup. I've been through 2 marriages. Mm-hmm. My girlfriend is sitting 2 seats away from me right now, and even her still with me. If she wanted to, just by saying stuff out of context and telling without making a single thing up, can make me seem like the biggest piece of shit in the history of the world. Can you imagine a 10-year relationship involving a long-term illness and, shall we say, a very unconventional lifestyle? How if you're hurting and you want to hurt back, you can do it really easily. Oh, yeah. Now, that doesn't mean she's lying at all, but it doesn't mean that it's as clear cut and you can just accept telling the truth. Again, 2 marriages that failed. Imagine what they could say about me and without lying. And so maybe, it's not cut and dry that everything is true, but anyone who read that could imagine that it is. Not a great leap either, right, based on how Zach acts online. So everything I say, everything I decide to do, I could very well have taken, food off the plate of someone that's innocent of the charges against him. And every time I say something and make the argument of the art and the artist, I could be in some way supporting someone who did terrible things. I don't know, so I have to measure and mean what I say, because one way or the other, that I'm behaving badly in some way. I'm either supporting someone that's done something wrong, or I've shit on someone that didn't deserve it. Right. I don't know. I have to balance in the face of the fact that I don't know. Mm-hmm. And I know he's going to hate the fact that I'm not standing up for him, but I don't know. Mm-hmm. There are people that are going to be pissed that I'm not saying I believe Mandy, but I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't. And so all of the things that I have to come up with have to be in this unknown space where maybe shit happened that way, maybe they didn't. And that's fucking hard because, if it was very plain facts that everyone could see, then it could be maybe it'd be a different argument. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. It's hard to talk about hype. Okay. Ask a question, please, so I can focus.
You're good. So, Lamentations I think it comes down to that Lamentations is much larger than just you. So that's where it gets into this area where when you have to make a decision, it's not just about one person, one moment. It's about you and all of the creators and people that have done freelance work for you that depend on you to to finish producing current projects, future projects, and and it's one decision about one creative person or that you do or don't work with. It's much bigger than just.
This is what I was talking about before I got sidetracked. So every person that has worked for me, does work for me, would work for me, is going to look at how I'm handling the Zach situation. Right. And I was going to phrase it: if they make a mistake in their life, if they make a mistake in their life, or if they have extremely poor judgment, or if they do something that's really bad, and what human being hasn't, and in this age of social media, it's going to be broadcast, they're looking at how I'm handling this. And I'll say it, I feel like a coward that I caved to the crowd based on, saying I'm not going to publish him anymore. I feel like a coward, like I've betrayed my ideals, but at the same time, that is a practical matter that.
Well, it's larger than just you.
Well,
that's what
the thing is, it is larger than me, but everyone else is looking at how I handle that and how I handle talking about him afterwards. And of course, everyone is either thinking it's never going to be them that's in the crosshairs, or they're thinking they're never going to be caught.
Right.
But, how I'm handling the Zach situation, I have to be developing a precedent so people know that maybe I won't exactly have their back, but again, I'm not the one also kicking them.
Right.
Because people put their heart and souls into this work. I mean, I do extremely unconventional things. People aren't doing it to shovel money, into their pockets. Right. There is some creative, soul into this. So it's a very difficult thing. Humans are humans, and we're all going to fail at some point, some far more spectacularly than others. And are you understanding? Are you kind? It is difficult to be kind to a perpetrator, but unless you're going to execute them, they still have to exist in society. And if you've turned them into a complete non-person, why? How is that? How are they ever going to become better, or at least not? They'll have nothing left but their bad things to live with.
I feel like it's a very good comparison between the American sort of criminal justice system to where you live, like the Finnish or like that style of criminal justice system where once they're done, that's it. You're back, and So I think it's maybe
a certain part of that exaggerated response too comes from a frustration with people who are guilty of things like that.
Yeah.
Never reaping any kind of punishment from that.
In Finland,
it's social justice because there is no criminal justice.
Right. Okay. Now, in Finland, I've done some research. I hope I'm getting the facts right. The average life sentence in Finland is 14 years. I believe the actual life sentence is 12 years, and then you get reviews. Every year or something until they decide, okay, you can re-enter society. The average life sentence, and this includes for rapes, for murder, for all sorts of things, life sentence, 14 years. So the person that does the most horrible thing is expected to re-enter society.
Right.
And what is the point? And again, if you're convicted and then let out of jail, what is the point of letting you out of jail if you're never able to re-enter society, if you can never become a productive member of society? And I know there are people that have been convicted of things, and when they're out, they're the monster still. If they're famous and have money, they're lucky enough to be able to not live in a ditch, but most of the people in the criminal justice system don't have a lot of money, and so now they still have that same situation, and they're dirt poor, and they have that, you're a dirty criminal, you deserve everything. That doesn't help anybody.
No. Right.
And then you have this situation where it's not seeing a court, or I understand it is going to see a court, but not a criminal court, and nobody is going to change their mind based on the verdict anyway.
Well, in civil court is a whole different monster anyway.
Yeah. So what do we do in these situations? I mean, it isn't kind. I mean, if we're going to have a parallel legal system, it needs to take all of this into account if it is going to be kinder and more just. Because frankly, the focus on the victim and you damn burn in hell, throw them away, that's a 1980s Republican standpoint. And I'm sure these people would be horrified to say you're acting like a 1980s Republican. What are you doing?
Well, I think the argument that you put forth that they have to do something, they have to continue to exist, or you have to throw them away entirely. Yeah. And I think
and the death penalty is not a popular progressive.
Right, yeah.
So make a decision.
Once you put it in that context, you either have to acknowledge the fact and accept. And if you do, okay, then that's your argument, whatever. I'm not saying it's right, but that's your argument. That you either have to acknowledge the fact that people have to continue to exist, or they have to just not be here anymore.
But where do you send them?
No,
where is this magical place called away that you send them?
Well, in a perfect I don't know. So
when you look at what you wrote in the back, the essay, right? I'm following you along, but then you seem to leave no space whatsoever between people who accuse everyone around them and people who make their own choice. Like, okay, I do believe this, and so I'm just not going to spend my money on that. And so then you sort of lump them in the bad category too, it seems.
Well, I don't hear the quiet ones. So there's I don't hear the quiet ones. So I'm not really addressing them. But at the same time, where is their limit? For example, if I do a project with someone that Zach has no involvement on, are they going to boycott that too just because I'm still selling Zach's evil book that's been published 5 years ago? What is the sense in that? Why that? I mean, if Zach bothers you and you don't want to buy Zach's book, that's your decision, your money, what you're comfortable with. And if that's your decision, I can't argue with it. My problem is that when you try to put pressure on other people that if they don't make your same decision, then they're bad people, or, that is when you're going on the crazy train.
See, that's exactly what I wanted when we thought about sitting down and doing this. I read that, and when you write things down, like in your essays and stuff, it's very well put. But I feel like that I don't know if it's because in the moment when you're writing it, you're like, I'm so mad at this. But like what you say right there is very, very reasonable, and like that's what I want people to hear, because I know there's like people will read things and they're like, "Oh, Raggi's so angry about this," and I know that but there is a piece of you that is, but it's also there's this perfectly rational and reasoned, thought through part of it, and I get there's a time to be mad, but there's also a time to where it's like, let me just lay this out for you in a clear, concise, logical way, so you can understand where I'm coming from, and if you disagree, then so be it.
How often have I gotten to have a conversation like this where people are playing devil's advocate or disagreeing without trying to rip my head off and tell me I'm a piece of shit?
I think that's a problem in all facets, like not exclusive to RPGs, which is why when we sat down, I was like, I don't even know really 100% where I come down on this. I don't know. And I think it's okay to say that. And I feel like there's not enough people that are saying, I don't know. I just don't know. I can look at this and be like, I'm trying to figure it out now. And I may feel one way right now. And then I may read something and be like, man, he's coming off a little strong, kind of being a dick right now. I feel now I'm, my needle swung back, maybe, and it's okay to do that. It's okay to change your mind and go back and forth. And
it's also okay not to harass anyone else about how you feel.
Yeah. But if you're infuriated by the suffering that someone has caused, using that as an excuse to make other people suffer seems to me to be extremely counterproductive. And I understand the impulse. I'm sure I've done it as well.
But emotional abuse is emotional abuse, whether I can see you or not.
But again, we're all human, and we get infuriated in the moment. It's the people that, after reflection, still say, "Yeah, fuck them. I hope they suffer." Right. And it's like, well, what a kind human being you are.
Well, no one can take a step back. No one can know once you've said something. It's like I can't unsay that, and I can never say anything to the contrary of that. I have to just stand by that, and that's where I feel like a lot of this falls apart. It's like, okay, fine, whatever has happened, but at a certain point, you either have to, find a way to put things back to you. Like, it just seems so stupid to me. And it's, what are we really talking about? It's not like we're curing cancer with these stupid games. I mean, what? Like, I love them, and I've spent a large part of my life playing them. But I mean, come on. Like, let's be honest. We're not putting people on the moon, you know, not to invalidate anybody's work or anybody's creativity, but like,
and you better be wearing the right shirt if you're doing that too, you know?
Right, yeah.
Because that's the important thing there.
So
sorry, I'm being snarky.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So, all right. Well, I think I really wanted to give you a chance to sit down and sort of like lay out, for the people that aren't either going to have the ability to get the GenCon exclusive or that or just don't have the desire to read it or whatever, and give people a chance to understand that it isn't just, you know, like it's a nuanced thing, and that it's not so clean cut as what everybody wants it to be.
Yeah, and it's the fact is, and the fact that people are still buying my stuff, and I can say I've done the best GenCon, you know, ever at this point in my 4th year being here, even after all this. I'm not going anywhere. Obviously, the people that are angry aren't going anywhere. It's like, okay, what do you want? Do you want to realize that maybe we all think differently than each other and we have to find a way to coexist? Or are we just going to be in this constant total war at all times forever with nobody ever winning? Because how do you win this?
Well, you don't.
When
it's people not
have, I mean, I get there are fundamental values differences. But that's going to happen. Role-playing doesn't belong to anybody. Mm-hmm. And I've always said no gatekeepers, and I mean it. No gatekeepers. Mm-hmm. That's how I think everyone that wants to do this, and that means everyone, yes, including those people, are going to do this. And you can ignore them. You can even make a space that's your people. And, you know, if you say, you know, this is a safe space for this, this, and this, that should be respected. If you go in there and start breaking that, then you're a dick. But there also have to be a space for the people who think differently to have their space, too. Because we are all different, and we're all going to think the other people are assholes and are harmful, and that's the way it's always going to be. But at some point, we have to realize they're not going away, and we have to find a way to not always be pissed off and angry and ready to tear each other's heads off.
Right on.
And
I think that's a perfect. I think no. I think that's a perfect place to end this. Like that's like the like a perfect summary of all of it, really, and of what you more or less laid out in the back of the. Zach did not write this. Did I say that right again?
Zach has nothing to do with it. And I do want to also say that there is an actual adventure in there. You're just talking about the 3-page afterward, but there is an actual adventure in there. It's like a Hateful Eight, advertising plug. If you've seen the Hateful Eight, it's the same thing, sort of a closed environment where 8 people are just about to be at their throats. It's going to escalate, and then here come the player characters to maybe make things better, probably make things much worse, because there's this blasphemous evil magic book that's been found, and everyone thinks that the circus acrobat Zachary Canterbury owns the book, but he has nothing to do with the book.
Right.
So, you know, that's what the adventure is. It's like a social adventure that's going to explode into complete conflict. There's an actual adventure there.
Right on.
I think it's wonderful, and it's full
Who wrote it?
Not Zach. No. This is funny. Someone pointed out to me. I tried to make it totally anonymous. The copyright notice on the back says not Zach. And then, you know, writing, not Zach. Art, not Zach. But the boilerplate copyright on the bottom of the title page says text copyright 2019 James Edward Raggi IV. Yeah. And I was like, oh! I wrote it.
Well, it kind of made me laugh because I thought, of all the arguments to have about who wrote this, do you think for 1 second all of the stuff that you've written and published, that if you write it down, that's what it is? I thought, I don't know why people would doubt that if you thought this person did this, you're not. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, anyone that is familiar with my stuff was going to recognize it anyway because of the
very style.
But the things that I find hilarious is that, number one, they're still making money off his name. It's like, it was his name that was the problem. And then the other one is that the people that you know, are just upset that I would poke fun at the whole thing. It's like, so now people are upset that a person they didn't like wasn't involved in a book. Well, that sounds productive.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us. I really, really appreciate it. And we really love what you what you do over at Lamentations and all the stuff that
Thank
you
you.
guys produce.
Thank
We're
you.
really super happy with it, and it's nice to
We're
see.
clearly not the only ones.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And thank you, everyone. I didn't know what to expect when I got on the plane. Thank everyone that supports us for continuing to support us, and thank the people who hate us to at least have the decency to not make it a real-life nightmare. I'd rather, if you're going to hate me, I'd rather you not hate me, but if you have to, I'd rather you do it online than in real life,
Right.
honestly.
I think we will wrap that one here, and that'll do it for us. And we will see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening. This has been an episode of Just One More Fix. Music has been provided by Kevin MacLeod. You can find him at incompetech.com. You can support us at patreon.com/JustOneMoreFix or follow us on Twitter at JustOneMoreFix.